On November 27, 1940, a young man named Li Junfan was born in Chinatown, San Francisco. Although he would travel back to his family home of Kowloon, Hong Kong, Li would return to the United States, not only to eventually teach his own style of martial arts, known as Jeet Kune Do, but would become one of the best-known martial artists as well as film stars. Of course, you might know him by his professional name, Bruce Lee. Although he'd only starred in 5 films before his tragic passing on July 20th, 1973, his legacy was one that, to this day, is still cherished. In a bit of an ironic twist, when it came to video games, there are only 5 based on Lee. Yeah, you could count EA putting him in their UFC game, and their Street Fighter's Fei Long, an homage to Lee. But Lee himself? Just the 5. First, there's the 1984 action platformer Bruce Lee for numerous computers, the 1989 DOS fighter Bruce Lee Lives, the multi-platform fighting game based on the film Dragon: The Bruce Lee Story in 1994, and 2003's beat-em-up Bruce Lee: Return of the Legend for Game Boy Advance. But 1 year prior came the release of a game that, during the upcoming launch of The Big Green, was a very anticipated game based on the martial arts legend, 2002's Bruce Lee: Quest of the Dragon. Now, I myself was one of those that was excited to play this game back then, so much so that when I pre-ordered it from EB Games, before they became GameStop, they gave a free copy of Dragon on DVD. Of course, going by the critical reception at the time, as well as my own reception, that DVD was probably the best thing about this game, and I returned it as quickly as possible. But it's 2019 now. I'm older, maybe a little wiser, but I still feel like I gave this game an unfair shake, so let's go ahead and take another look at Bruce Lee: Quest of the Dragon and see if this truly is a quest worth partaking. Quest of the Dragon's story focuses on Bruce Lee's character, a retired British Secret Service agent named Bruce Lee. Anyway, Bruce has been called back into duty to help investigate an evil organization called the Black Lotus, who are involved in many typical villainous deeds like smuggling and the like. However, for Bruce there's more at stake, as the head of the Black Lotus, Dragon Lady, has kidnapped Lee's father and stolen a magical relic in retaliation for Bruce defeating her father. Now Bruce must infiltrate their compound and save his father, the relic, and the world. As far as plots go, I feel the developers did a decent job at crafting a story that's close to the films Bruce Lee starred in long ago. They had a main plot, but it was just strong enough to not make it all about the fighting, even if that's what we all wanted to see anyway. The best way to describe Quest of the Dragon is that it's a 3D beat-em-up, plain and simple. You guide Bruce through each stage, fighting enemies with a variety of moves and combos. The game claims to have 2 different modes as you play, Adventure Mode and Arena Mode. Adventure Mode is where you run through the stage and stop in predetermined spots to fight enemies, with different conditions, such as regular brawling, time attack, nunchuck brawling, and more. While Arena Mode plays more like a standard fighting game where you go one-on-one with the stage's boss. So far that's not a bad idea, but very quickly the problems with this game start to roll in pretty fast. Starting with Adventure Mode, Bruce has 2 ways to attack: regular fighting and locking onto an enemy, each method having its own set of moves. This sounds good on paper, but the problem is that the way it's executed is just so clunky. Trying to quickly swap between the 2 when surrounded by enemies can drain your health pretty fast, especially since they went to some martial arts school where the only lesson was to do the same attack over and over again. You can use the right stick to punch in any direction, as well as blocking and parrying to try to relieve this, but with the goons' quick attacks, you're better off just spamming the same moves as well. When you beat an enemy, they'll drop items like coins to spend on moves and upgrades, dragon coins that, when used, allow you to go on fire and do double damage and take none, and little buffs for health and attacks. This does help dealing with such cheap AI, but this also leads into another big problem. The fights in this game just take way too long. When you play a standard beat-em-up, walking to each encounter and the fights themselves are just long enough to keep the pace fast and exciting. With Bruce Lee, walking to each fight is a boring slog, and when you do fight, each encounter has you fighting at least 14 to 15 enemies. Add in the annoying AI, and you've got fights that can last up to 5 minutes, and in a beat-em-up, that's just terrible. For some extra salt in the wound, if you use up all your lives, you have to start at the beginning of the stage again. The only time you can save is when you complete the actual stage. But this is just from the adventure side of things. What about the arena? Well, these parts are actually not that bad. Just being able to focus on one enemy in a controlled area handles much better, even if the camera is total ass. The only thing that sucks is the boss AI is even cheaper than the regular goons. They practice the sacred art of crouch floor dough, where you just stay crouched and use low blows. Well, when in Rome. Overall, there's some good gameplay ideas here, they just weren't executed very well. Visually, Quest of the Dragon does not look like an Xbox game, not even an early Xbox game. This looks like a Dreamcast game that got ported near mid-development. The stages are muddy, the characters, all 6 of them since they like to use the same models all the time, and the animations are very janky. I mean, just why is Bruce running like he has a blowtorch up his ass? For music, it sucks. I mean, yeah, I can clarify a bit and tell you that it's bland, generic, and doesn't feel like it fit in anything involving Mr. Lee, but just saying it sucks is all that's needed to be said. The voice acting doesn't fare much better, with laughably bad performances and a Bruce Lee impersonator that's just... well, it's just...
oh yeah, a little bit to the left. Oh, baby. Brandy, you got great hands. Candy, how about a refresh on my martini?
Lance, I'm glad you are home, man.
Lee! How are you? Man, it's good to see you, old buddy. Perfect timing. Candy, pour the man a drink.
Lance.
Oh, right. Root beer is your poison. Ladies, I'd like you to meet Lee. Lee, this is Candy.
Hello.
And this, my friend, is Brandy.
Pleasure.
I've got a sweet tooth, old buddy.
Lance, I need your help. My father has been kidnapped. I must get across the bay.
Kidnapped? Why didn't you say so? Sorry, ladies. Duty calls. Gotta run. Jump in. Keep the drinks chilled, ladies. I'll be back before happy hour.
At the end of all this, the team that developed this game wanted to make an experience that let you be the dragon, the legendary Bruce Lee. But after playing it, I felt like I had the experience of being in a Bruceploitation film, like the kind you see in those movies at the video store with an actor that kinda looks like Lee, but with the name spelled differently, such as L-I or L-E. But I can't bash this game completely, as there was a passion here to make a game that honored the real dragon. It just feels like either this game needed more time to be polished, or a more experienced developer. Speaking of developer, this would be Ronin Entertainment's final game before shutting their doors. As for Bruce Lee games, as mentioned earlier, Return of the Legend for GBA is the last one of now, and is definitely a much more polished game than this one. Here's just hoping that with the love of beat 'em up still going strong, that they'll make a proper game starring Mr. Lee. Or, you know, you could make a video game adaptation of The Last Dragon. Come on, you know you want to take a crack at the Shogun of Harlem.
Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this town?
Sure enough.
Well, who am I?
Sure enough.
Who am I?
Sure enough.
I can't hear you.
And with that, this is the Dali Popka saying, as always, stay green, my friends. I'll see you next time.